All right, so today we're tackling something pretty big. It's a powerful and, honestly, a deeply uncomfortable topic for a lot of people. We're going to dive into this one source's argument against religious violence. And the whole thing is built on this one radical idea that you should never, ever have to fight for God. And really, this whole explainer, it all boils down to one single question. It's a pretty provocative one, and it pushes back against an impulse that has, literally shaped centuries of human history. Here it is. Does the creator of the universe need a bodyguard? I mean, really think about that. Does an all-powerful being actually need us to protect it? Well, the source material we're looking at today argues that the answer is a hard, definitive no. So let's get into it. First off, the source makes it really clear that this is not some new modern problem. Nope, this whole impulse to defend God, it's like this persistent shadow that's been hanging over us for a long, long time. And what's so interesting is how the source immediately connects the past to what's happening right now. It basically draws a straight line from something like the ancient Crusades all the way to modern blasphemy laws. And what's the common thread? It's this belief, this idea that God needs us with our weapons and our laws to defend him. And that's the pattern we're going to pull apart today. Okay, so to start building its case, the source takes us way back. We're talking Old Testament, Book of Judges, and it introduces us to a pretty unlikely hero in this whole debate. So picture this. You've got this guy, Gideon, and he, believing he's following a divine command, goes and just smashes an altar to a pagan god named Baal. As you can imagine, the townspeople completely lose it. They are furious. To them, their god has been insulted, his honor is on the line, and they want blood. They demand Gideon be executed for blasphemy. But then, this is where it gets really good. As this angry mob is screaming for his son's head, Gideon's own father, a guy named Joash, steps up, and he hits them with this just brilliant, logical comeback. He basically says, hold on a second, you guys want to kill my son to defend your God? If Baal is really a god, why can't he just defend himself? And that's the whole takeaway right there. Joash's point is that when you rush to violence to defend your God, you're not actually showing faith. It's the opposite. It's an act of unbelief. It's like you're secretly admitting you think your God is weak, that he can't handle his own battles. The logic is simple. A truly divine being doesn't need you and your sword to protect its honor. Okay, so that's the Old Testament argument. Now, let's see how this idea develops. We're going to jump forward a few centuries, straight into the New Testament and into one of the most famous scenes ever. So we're in the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus is being arrested. The stakes couldn't possibly be higher, right? And his most passionate disciple, Peter, does what a lot of us might think is the right thing to do. He pulls out his sword. He's ready to fight for his leader, to defend his Lord with violence. In that moment, he is the ultimate defender of the faith. But Jesus' reaction is not what you'd expect. It's immediate and it's absolute. He doesn't say, thanks, Peter, I appreciate the loyalty. Nope, he rebukes him. Put your sword away. And according to our source, this isn't just a command for that one specific moment. It's presented as the definitive final word on religious violence for anyone who follows him. I mean, the contrast is just so stark, isn't it? Peter's impulse is all about retribution. Let's punish the bad guys. But Jesus immediately flips that script. His mission is about restoration, and he proves it by healing the very guy Peter just attacked. The source really hammers this point home. True divine power just doesn't need a human sword for protection. Period. All right, so we've had these two powerful stories. Now, the source material kind of shifts gears from storytelling to some real analysis. It argues that this whole impulse to kill in God's name, it's not built on solid rock. It's built on a totally flawed foundation, what it calls the 3 false pillars. Let's walk through these. The first false pillar is insecurity. This is the idea or the fear that God's glory is somehow so fragile that a human can actually damage it. The second pillar? Arrogance. Just pure arrogance. The idea that you, a tiny, finite human, have the right to be the judge, jury, and executioner for an infinite being. And the third pillar is just straight-up disobedience. It's when you completely ignore the direct command to love your enemies and choose to fight them instead. And all of this leads us to the source's big conclusion. It's not just about what not to do. It presents a whole different way of thinking about power, basically flipping that human instinct for holy war completely upside down.
And you can really see it clearly when you put the two mindsets side by side. Our flawed human impulse screams, we have to fight for God. But the divine way, as the source presents it, is the complete opposite. God fights for us. We feel this need to use force to defend God's honor. The alternative? Use mercy to reflect God's character. We want retribution for our enemies. The divine way is all about redemption for our enemies. It's a total paradigm shift. And this all comes to a head with the final, most powerful example from the source, on the cross. At the absolute moment of crisis, Jesus could have called for that army. Remember those 12 legions of angels he told Peter about? He didn't. He didn't ask for anyone to defend him. Instead, he laid down his own life. And not to crush his enemies, but to redeem them. And that, the source argues, is the ultimate takedown of the entire idea of holy war. So where does that leave us? Well, the source leaves us with a really challenging question to wrestle with. If this whole argument is true, then what does it actually mean for us, today, to put down our own swords? And I'm not just talking about literal swords, but, our modern weapons of outrage, of condemnation, of retribution. What does it look like to do that in a world that is just so full of conflict? That's a big question, and that's the thought we're going to leave you with.